Toasty. Hi guys, Manny from Ride Off Rescue here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a new project for you. It's a pretty exciting one. It's a car that I've admired for a while, and I'm hoping maybe I might keep it a little bit for myself. We'll see how it goes. It's a Mercedes. It has a V6 engine, turbochargers, and it is a mid-sized sedan. And with no further ado, let's have a look. It's a Mercedes E43 AMG. I'll give you a quick look around. So here she is. Previous owners tinted up the tail lights there. It's got air suspension, nice lip spoiler. It's in this beautiful white color. It's pretty dirty again, as usual, after getting the cars from auction. Now, coming up to the damage. When I bought this car from auction, I saw that it had a little bit of damage on this side. And you can see there's a little bit of damage on the door. That's not going to be a big deal to fix and repaint. Other than that, the body's really good. I'll give you a quick look around before we go and have a look inside. The front end's nice. Sorry, we're running a bit out of space here. It's a bit hard to move this around. It's not starting at the moment. So we're kind of a bit stuck here. You can see she's in good condition, other than the other side. It's that nice E43 badge. I've owned an E200 in the past and I really enjoyed that car. I didn't have it for too long after we fixed it, but I'm excited about driving the E43. I think just with the extra power and the air suspension and everything like that, I think it's going to be a beautiful car to drive. Now, as I was saying before, when we bought this car, I could see they claimed it being fire damage. You can see here it looked like someone had thrown something on fire at the window, and I assumed you could see there was maybe a little bit of damage just here on the outside, but not a whole lot. And they did show inside here a little bit. So on the pictures I could see the door liner was, you know, melted like that. And again, I looked at it and said that's no big deal. And I could see this seat was a little bit damaged here, and I'd hoped that I could get my retrimmer to fix that up. So when it has finally arrived, there's a few things that I'm not that happy about. For starters, we got some melting on the carpet. Now that was a possibility, so I'm not too worried about that. Obviously this plastic trim here will also need to be fixed. But the things that really annoyed me that they didn't show in the photos was stuff like this. On the passenger seat you can see there's burning there. There's also some burning in the carpet there. Center console even, for some reason, somehow, they've got a bit of a melty spot there. Also, the roof liner is a little bit damaged there. The rear vision mirrors are a bit melty on both sides actually. And we'll just pop round to the other side of the car and have a look. So around here on the driver's side, things aren't getting any better. The door trim and everything looking alright, but the seat is bad, and I didn't see this at all in the photos. They didn't show it in the photos, and at the moment you can't do any physical viewing. So I'm really disappointed that I didn't know about this when I bought the car, because it might have altered how much I paid for it. You can see there's a huge burn there, and even the backrest is quite bad. All the nice soft Alcantara type material has been melted in that section there. You can see the wires exposed from the seat heating, and even the door pillar trim here you can see has been melted along with the seatbelt. So there's a little bit more work in it than I thought there might be. We're going to have to get a few more parts. Tossing up at the moment whether we look at getting a statutory write-off car that we can just strip for some bits, or whether we try and find some parts. Now, going into the back door here, even the back seat somehow has managed to get a little bit of burning there, and the seatbelt is also damaged. So we're going to have to get that also repaired. So all these little things just add up. They're just a pain in the bum and stuff that I didn't expect. I was just expecting to do a little bit of stuff on that front passenger side on the left there and have it all good to go for maybe a few $1,000s at the most. But now it's turning into a bit more of a bigger project. So first things first, we need to see why there's no power running to the car. Now I suspect something up near the battery where there's some fuses, so we might go and check that out and see what we can find, and then see whether we can get some power to light this thing up. Once we pop the bonnet, you can see this beautiful 6-cylinder turbocharged AMG engine. 0 to 100 time in this thing is like 4.6 seconds, and really that's all you need for an E-Class sedan. You can get the E63, and I think that's down in the 3s, maybe around 3.5 seconds, which is pretty crazy town. But I think this will be more than enough power for this kind of car. So the battery in these cars is under this panel. I've just removed it off camera before we started to make things easier. And you can see the battery down there. There's also usually an air filter box that goes here on top of the battery. I've just pulled that out too. So you can see here, I've just disconnected the terminal off the battery. I did have it on charge last night to try and get a bit of charge into it, because it was quite flat after it's been sitting at the auction house for quite a while. So I suspect that there is some kind of fuse or something down here in this box, and I think we will see if we can pop that out, see what's going on, and see whether we can replace it or just temporarily jump it, and see whether we can get any power into the car. Alright, so I've done a little bit more digging off camera and haven't found anything just yet, but I thought I'd just show you this next step. So what I've done is I've just hooked up our spare battery with the jumper cables up to the terminals from the terminal we bypassed before. And what I've done, I'll put my clamp meter on here. I just wanted to double check that the car wasn't drawing any massive amounts of current, so we would have any issues with fire or anything like that. So I'm just looking now, and you can see I've got it on the 40 amp setting. It's clamped over the alligator clips wire, just one of the wires, and we're drawing about 150 milliamps or 0.15 amps there, so that's fine. That's a little bit of a current draw, so if we left it on for a long period of time, the battery would probably get flat, but that'll be fine for now for us to do a bit more fault finding. So I'll do a bit more probing into the fuse box and a few other places, and you can see here that I pulled off this main fuse box. So there's a few fuses and things here. These are for stuff like the cooling fan at the front there behind the radiator, some of the main fuses for some other stuff, probably the alternator and that kind of thing. So there is a few on the top there, and there is also a few down the side that you can see. So I'll have a bit more of a look around off camera, and I'll come back to you once I've found something, and hopefully we can get some power to the car. Okay guys, after looking around at all the fuse boxes and everything like I showed you in the last section of the video, I've come back on a different day after I've been thinking about it a bit, and I thought, well, what's the chances that with the fire they put in some water to put the fire out? So going on that theory, I've pulled up the carpet here on the front passenger side, and lo and behold, I can see a little bit of corrosion on some of the connectors. So I'll show you here. You can see there all that green corrosion, and if we open up the connector here and do it with one hand, you can see how horrible it looks in there. So I can guarantee that that's not making any good connection, or any connection at all probably, and that could be the reason why our car's not getting any power to the dash or any of the other auxiliary components. So I think we should get into that, start fixing up those cables and see how we go after that. Now, I did talk to Mercedes already about this, and they want to sell me an entire wiring loom, and I didn't even ask for the price. I'm sure it's hundreds of dollars, if not more. So what I've got is a similar wiring loom. It's only just a plug and a socket, so as long as we match up the cables to the correct ones each side, it'll work fine. And I just had one off a donor car that I pulled off, and let's get that soldered in and we'll see how we go. Okay guys, now that wasn't the easiest job to do. Just access was not great, and the wires also for some reason didn't really want to take the solder all that well. Maybe just because it's had a little bit of water on it or something like that. Alright, before we go any further, that was the main one that was having all the issues with the corrosion. There was one or two pins really only on the other connectors. So what I thought I'd do is we'll hook up the battery and we'll see whether it makes any difference. Alright, here's the moment of truth. Okay guys, so hasn't really made any difference. There's still absolutely nothing here. We're completely dead. So what I'm suspecting is the only module around here is this one. And I'm pretty sure what we'll find is quick Google search, and that'll be the ignition module. So I'm guessing that's probably filled up with water. Now I did notice there's a very small bit of corrosion on this one wire here. At the moment I don't think it's worth changing. Let's just pull this out. See if I can do it with one hand. Okay, we can see there's a little bit of corrosion in that connector there, and same with here on the edge. So there's a good chance this has probably had some water in it. Let's just whip the top off and have a look and see what it looks like inside. Okay guys, so I've taken the top off and you can see, yep, look at all that corrosion. So she's toast. So have a look at the backside. Ugh, it's even worse. Alright, well, we're making progress. I'm pretty confident when I looked up on Google that this was the ignition module, so let's just get a new one, pop it in, and we'll see what happens then. Okay guys, it's a bit of time's passed now, and as you saw in the last part of the video, the module here for the ignition system was flooded. I did, off camera, attempt to do a bit of cleanup and repair on this module, but it just hasn't worked. I think there's just too much damage. We're still missing some components. If you look really closely to some of these little components over here, they're actually missing legs, and I'm pretty sure that's like the power supply for these chips here, which I believe are the communications chips. I think that they communicate on the CAN bus. So after talking to Mercedes and so on, and doing a bit of research on the web, which there's very little information about this on there, we came up with only two solutions. One, you buy a used module, which I have bought here. Now, the used module won't really work in the car. It's not coded for the car. It has all sorts of VIN numbers and things like that in it. It's part of the security and ignition system, so it's just not going to work straight out of the bat. I have tried this in the car. It did get the dashboard to light up a little bit, which was an improvement over this old one here, but it doesn't recognize the key. It won't let you put the accessories on or attempt to start the car. So after looking at this circuit a bit closer, I believe that this main IC here is the one that's going to be the brains, and it's actually going to be storing all the information for the car VIN number, all that kind of stuff. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to get the new board out of this used module. I'm going to unsolder the original chip here, which was undamaged with the water. As far as the damage sort of goes, the damage was sort of around this kind of area. And I'm going to solder it back into the good module. And fingers crossed this works. This cost me about $550. If it doesn't work, I can't return it. And my only other option then is going to be to buy a new module, which from Mercedes locally is about $2,000, plus then they'll want money to do coding and everything as well, which I'm sure will be at least another $500 on top of that. So here's our $500 gamble to remove this IC and to put it back onto the other new board, and let's hope that we get some success. I will say that I am a very competent solderer. I would not attempt this if you are not very competent with soldering. It is a very fine pitched IC, if the camera will focus. It's probably about 0.5 millimeters between each of those pins, center to center, possibly even lower, possibly 0.4. So they are not easy to solder, but we will do our best. I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to do it. I've done similar jobs before, and then we will plug it into the car and we'll see how it goes. So let's get started with our soldering. Okay guys, so the nerve-wracking part's done. It's all soldered in. I'm happy with the joints. I don't think it really wants to focus that well on the pins, but I've looked under the magnifying glass and they all look great. So it's time to put it back into the plastic housing and we'll get it into the car and see how we go. Okay guys, here's the moment of truth. Got the module that we've repaired. Let's plug it in. Alright, she's plugged in. Let's connect the battery and hope for the best. Whoa, that's looking much better, guys. Much better. We'll go around to the driver's side and we'll see how we go. Alright, foot on the brake. Let's see how we go. Well guys, good news is it's recognizing the key. So you can see accessories is going on now, but unfortunately there's something else further in the bowels of the wiring that's not happy about, but I'm pretty sure we fixed that module, so that's a great start. You can see there's a lot of errors and stuff up there. But I'm really glad that we've now got accessories working and that module's working, so let's keep digging. Okay guys, so I've done my little bypass trick here where we're bypassing the switch in this section with the 2 red clamps, and also the switching mechanism on the battery here between this left hand half and that bottom half there, because it seems the power is still just not getting to some parts of the car for whatever reason. One of the modules or this wiring or something is just not happy. So I just want to get everything powered up and working. So let's go into the car now and give it another go. Alright guys, here we go. Moment of truth. Oh, yes! I've been waiting weeks and weeks for that noise. That is fantastic. That is so good. I am so happy. Wow guys, I'm really happy. But we need to work out why those other modules aren't turning on now. So that's going to be the next job. Alright, well, let's keep digging, but we're making headway. We are making headway. Well guys, I think that about wraps us up for today's video. Thanks very much for joining me. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing and give us a like. It really helps us out. There will be 1 or 2 more parts to this video. We still got a lot of stuff that we need to work through with replacing a lot of the interior and getting the rest of the electrical issues sorted out. So please join me for that. We will be doing that over probably the next month or so. We've still got several weeks wait on some of the parts that are coming in to finish off this car, so it will be a bit of a slow process. But bear with us and we'll see you next time.